The time is now 5:30, and I'd like to call this meeting, this policy committee meeting into session. So if I can I get a call? Is there a motion to call to order?
I motion we call this meeting to order at, I'm sorry, what's the time?
You're good, 5:30.
5:30. All right. Oh, something went wrong.
All right.
Okay.
And I will second. I'll go ahead and take roll. Ms. Director Carter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 2-0. Let's see if there's anybody else here. All right. Chair is seeking a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we get the agenda, adopt the agenda as printed.
Okay. Hey, before we go through your motion, are you're on the committee tonight? Are you taking this? Are you operating in the stead of President Briggs?
Yeah, I'm in on President Briggs.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Let's see. Is there any discussion? Because I have a little bit of discussion. Before we adopt the agenda, I understand Hangout was scheduled to be able to be on this meeting. I didn't know if Miss Moses was able to attend. If she's unable to attend, then I would ask that we keep the agenda as is with the motion in the second. But if she does, if anyone knows that she is going to show up, or if she does come in, I may ask that we seek an amendment to the agenda.
Mr. Watry, this is Donna Payton. I have not heard about adding her to the agenda or whether or not she would be here today.
That's fine. We had discussed her being at this at the May 5th meeting in regards to the exceptions of Hope Hangout. But if so, then we will discuss it at a later date. So with the motion made and seconded, with the adoption of the agenda, without further discussion, I will call it to a vote. So Vice President Reagan. Vice President Reagan, you there? And he's gone. All right. Director Carter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 2-0. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Chair seeking a motion, but is asking if everyone was able to review the minutes for the previous meeting.
Okay.
I was good with it.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
Ms. Carter, were you good with were you able to review the minutes?
I glanced over it, but it's okay. I didn't get a full glance of it, but I got some of it, but I'm okay with it.
Okay. So Chair seeking a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, we'll call for a roll. Director Carter?
Aye.
Vice President Reagan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 3-0. Moving on to the next agenda item, where I believe this is a discussion item where we discuss the MSBA policy review. Miss Johnson, are you online?
I am.
Could you speak to this just a little bit in the sense of I know this is what, the second, is this the first reading of new policies, or is this the second reading of previously reviewed policies?
So this is the second review of the
Second.
policies that you all reviewed last month. These have not gone to the board for first review because you wanted to have the opportunity to look at them again. They're all policies, or a group of policies, and they relate to staff hiring and the need to have due process hearings in situations where an employee leaves the district either voluntarily or otherwise, when there have been allegations of sexual misconduct with a student. And so all of these policies, with the exception of one of them, have been changed to address the change in House Bill 604 that will go into effect on September 1. So, and if you, did you want me to go through each one of them again?
No. I was going to ask to see if you, any of our board members have any questions regarding the policies that are being presented within the review, being the fact that this is the second reading.
Yeah, I did. When it goes to the resignation, I think I spoke about it the last time. What we've been finding out is that a lot of our teachers have been just leaving. What I don't want our district to get into the habit of is letting everyone just go. When they sign their contracts for them to come and teach in our district, it is there for a reason. And I have looked at other people's, when they're hiring teachers and staff, how some of them is, unless it's a death. Now, some people have been leaving because their husband has been moving out of town, so they want to go, and then we don't get any money back. So we've been letting a lot of them leave. So I'm hoping that, I don't remember, I think it's on GCB or whichever one is that, Mrs. Johnson, Attorney Johnson, with the one where they always leaving out, because that's what's been happening. We've just been approving a lot of them, letting them leave and not getting the money back. So which one was that? I think it's GCBP, I mean.
I would have to look. I can't recall what policy it is. I know the policy that you're referring to, but I would need to pull it up to know which one it is.
So my question is more in the sense of, I understand that the board in closed session, often when addressing personnel matters, has the aspect of creating
Director Watry? Everybody still there?
He kind of froze up a little bit.
Yeah,
But he's
I'm
back.
here.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying was,
I don't.
I don't know
Like a
what he's saying.
robot.
Yeah, I don't know what he's saying, but Carla, if you could find that, pull that up for us, because that's what's been happening. We've been allowing him. Hello?
In closed session meeting, because
you.
I'm here.
Can't hear you. I think he's gone. He's gonna log back on. It sound like that's what he said.
Can everyone hear me?
Now we can. Much better.
Okay. I don't know what necessarily happened. Maybe I was moving too much. But what I was saying is that the policy the board in closed session reviews personnel matters when it comes to the exemption, and it is left at it is up to the majority of the board to decide if they're going to allow the exemptions with contracts. Correct?
Correct. I'm listening to you.
Okay, so even when it comes to this policy, in the sense of the aspect that we may be creating exemptions, the exemptions have to go through the full board. So even with this policy in place, it's not so much as that contracts will be just passed away. It's at the board's discretion whether or not, and we vote on a case by case scenario on whether or not we will create that exemption, whether it be through death, whether it be through family circumstances or otherwise. But as far as that's concerned, and with the policy being what it is, I don't see a reason to change the policy based on the fact that it covers and it gives the board the power to be able to make a case by case assessment of if that person should be given that exemption.
Yes, sir, Chair Watry, and I understand what you have stated. And I just think if we put it in there to be more specific, saying it is in, I don't think it's reading like that right now. It's the chair. It's the words I'm using is it's up to the board basically to say you're going to exempt. I think we need to be more specific because if we have noticed, a lot of teachers have been using. It's kind of like we're known for, if you tell us anything, we'll let you out of your contract and you'll go. And that's what's been happening I know for the last 2 years. So I'm trying to I would like to see the board have a stronger wording in there. I don't know what the words you would use, but Mrs. Johnson, can you help me on that? Because I know that one of the directors before you all came on had a question about this a long time ago.
So stronger language that essentially says that that employees will pay back the district if they leave.
Because it says that in the contract as well as the policy. Am I correct, Ms. Johnson?
Right. Yeah. So I wasn't sure what.
Vice President Reagan, can you provide an example of what you mean by stronger language?
Well, last year, before you all came on, and Dr. Skinner, I think you were in there also, was that Mrs. Hildebrand had stated how here lately, it was last year sometime, I'm trying to think of the incident that occurred where the board allowed someone to break their contract, but it wasn't nothing really serious. And one thing she had questioned is that if we keep on allowing and not putting something in there stronger, for them that they'll know before they even think about breaking their contracts. She was kind of hesitant about it. I would have to go back and get my letters because I wrote it down, but I would have to, that's something that if we would need to revisit, I'll be happy to come back with you or send it in to you before the board meeting, and then everybody that's on this committee can look at that. Because I did take notes of it that day. I just can't. I want to get the right person who we was talking about. Dr. Skinner, do you remember or not?
I was not in there when Ms. Hildebrand was speaking. I mean, I know which policy you're talking about. It is right there. It is the GCPB policy.
PB, okay. Mm-hmm.
That does with staff conduct. Am I correct?
What?
What is it? That policy deals with staff conduct? Am I correct?
It says resignation of professional staff members.
Right.
Okay.
That's it.
So within this policy, it states the fact that the resignation that they will be held to their contract with a breach of contract based on the fact they would pay back the
certain money. Yeah.
The certain money. So it says that, correct?
Yeah. But we were allowing people out of it so swiftly. And what I'll do is I'll just come back to it if you don't mind, Chair Watry. I don't want to spend a lot of time.
No. It's fine because we had, one thing we do have is time to actually spend on this. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I don't think the issue is with the policy. The issue is with the board. If the board, because the board is making the decision of whether or not the exemption actually takes place, and the policy states it. There it is. So even with Ms. Hildebrandt's issue, even back then, it's not so much as that the policy didn't carry strong enough verbiage. It actually states pretty black and white, but it's up to the board to decide whether those exemptions are taking place. So if the board decides to make the exemption, it's not on the policy, it's on the board who has made the exemption for the policy.
I can read you what it says real quick if you'd like. The
Please.
portion that you're looking about says, only the board has the authority to release an employee from a contract. The board considers seriousness, illness, transfer of a spouse in military service, legitimate reasons for resignation of professional staff, but the board will consider each resignation on an individual basis.
And I can't see making stronger verbiage other than that.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'll make sure that I took down what it was said, and I don't want to.
No, you're fine.
I wasn't ready for that one, so I will make sure that I'll get it to everyone.
Okay.
And that portion of the policy isn't proposed to change.
Okay.
You know, and then the liquidated damages section clearly says that if a written resignation is received by the superintendent or designee by between June 1st and June 30th, the employee will pay $1,500, July 1st or later, $3,000. So you know, I can look through it and see. I'm not sure what I would change to make it stronger.
Okay, I think this is what it is then. What about if they was released because of bad conduct or something? Are we getting anything back from that?
It's up to the discretion of the board when it's brought to
bad
their
conduct?
resignation. Yeah, I mean
I mean, this contemplates liquidated damages in a situation where an employee resigns. So
right.
If the district terminates an employee, I'm not sure that I think this applies. I can look at it, and that's just me looking at it and giving you an answer without really spending any time with it. But I don't think that
we require
payback.
I guess it's
terminates an employee.
I think
so. Is it? Yeah, that was my question.
If
my question was if yes, sir.
I was going to say, if I may, I think what Mr. Reagan is referring to, and I don't want to be off if this is what it is, but there have been occasions where somebody has, quote, turned in the resignation prior to the end of the school year and accused somebody of basically harassment or something. And in those cases, but again, that is the board making that decision to not have that individual make that, restitution.
Right.
Right. And that's a situation where an employee has in fact submitted a resignation. Not a situation, Dr. Skinner, where an employee is terminated for cause. Yeah.
Right. And this I know for a fact, no other district is seeing the termination of an employee as a breach of contract of where they have to pay back $3,000 or $15,000 or $1,500 that is if they were to breach their contract. So I wouldn't want to change any of the verbiage or even put that. It's going to be higher. It'd be very hard to hire people when they know that they can be fired and have to pay $3,000 for misconduct. When in all actuality, any other district in the KC metro area does not do so. So I can understand the aspect or the want for stronger verbiage, but I think the verbiage is sound, and what it does is puts the responsibility of the exemptions of anything. If any money is lost, it is at the responsibility of the board. The board loses that money if they decide to exempt someone out of their contract, which is where we want the responsibility at.
Mm-hmm.
We want the responsibility on the board to be able to make the determination on a case-by-case scenario of if the resignation of a employee determines if they should be exempt.
Well, like I said, I'll make sure that you all get it. All five of us get it, and you can look at it, and then we'll see.
Okay. So
okay.
with all the other policies that are pending with the revisions, has committee members been able to review those policies, or can I seek a motion that we send this ahead for the second reading to the full board.
And Mr. Watry, I would note that the in the policy that we're talking about, one change that is relatively significant is that employees can notify the district that they no longer want to work for the district at the end of an existing contract by submitting a resignation to the superintendent. And once that's submitted, it's deemed accepted. So no longer do resignations at the end of contract terms require board approval.
Right.
Right.
I'm fine with that. I don't want to make anybody stay where they don't want to stay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, if you guys are wanting these to go to the board for to the full board for a first read, along with the other ones already there, that'll be on a second read this month, then it would just require a motion from someone to move this move these policies to the full board.
Okay, let's do the first one for the second reading. Which policy was that one? I forgot, Miss. If you don't mind, Chair Watry, let's do the second one for the second reading, and then we'll move the ones that need to go to the first reading and make a motion for that. That'd be too much. Which
you
one's
don't have
got
to make a motion, I'm sorry, for anything with regard to the second reading, because you already have a group of policies before the board.
It would just add on.
Will be on second read. What you need to do is, if you want to move these out of committee, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 policies that were on the agenda for today, if you want to move these 5 policies onto the board for first read, then you need a motion moving them
okay.
to the full board.
And I'm seeking a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we send the policies GCD, GCPB, GDB, GD, P as in Paul, B as in Beta, G, D as in Delta, P as in Paul, E as in Echo, and J, O to the full board for first reading.
Is there a second?
I second. Sorry, I'm having phone issues over here.
Quite all right. Without further discussion, would you like to call it to a vote? All right. Director Carter, while your phone's working.
Aye.
Vice President Reagan.
Aye.
All right. Chair votes aye. Motion carries 3-0. All right. Moving on to discussion items. Regular session board meeting May 21st, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. I don't think there's really much to discuss about the upcoming board meeting. But if anyone else has to add before moving on. Okay. All right. All right, moving forward. Moving on, I believe the next item, we don't have any items to bring to the full board, so I believe that the next item is discussing upcoming meetings that are happening.
Chair Watcher, we are bringing items to the board. We're bringing those policies for first reading.
Yeah.
So
but
we've
already voted.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
we've already voted on it.
Yeah, it was right there.
I got
okay. You. Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, future meeting dates, Education Accountability meeting is May 11th, 2020 at 5 o'clock. Finance Committee meeting is May 12th at 2020 at 5:30. And with that,
hold on. Education facilities meeting and the bond meeting thing.
Facility meeting has been moved to
the 14th.
The 14th.
At
what time?
5
Thank
o'clock.
you, Thank you, Vice President Reagan.
Director Watry.
Yes, sir.
I have to apologize. I did not invite Ms. Moses to come tonight. I thought she was going to be going to the Educational Accountability to discuss that. So I did not invite her tonight. That's probably why she wasn't here. Didn't get reminded of it either. So I was going to have her go to that meeting for discussion. Is that okay if I continue with
No,
that?
I agree with that completely. And if anything, I can touch base with Chair Abram of that committee and just make sure that he's aware that we did not have that meeting and that he's expecting that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Is there any other items, Vice President Reagan? I heard you. Did you have anything else?
No, that's okay. No, that was it.
Okay. Well, the time is now 5:55, and this policy committee meeting is adjourned. I like when we wrap it up quick.